Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. This is the special edition of Humanity Happy Hour because today is Veterans Day. So, first and foremost, from everybody here at Bringing Humanity Together, we want to truly thank and honor all those who have served or has currently serving either in a stateside deployment or in an international deployment, whatever you're doing. So, again, thank you for protecting our freedoms and going out there and answering that call to serve because not a lot of people could be able to do what you guys do each and every single day. So, from everyone here at Bringing Humanity Together, thank you so much for taking that call and answering that call. So we appreciate every single one of our service members. And I believe it was yesterday, it was actually the uh, birthday of the Marine Corps. So happy birthday to the Marine Corps, too, as well. Welcome, everyone, to the Bringing Humanity Together live stream. This is one of 3 open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace that's in a very positive and very constructive way. We want to know what the issues that are out there that are facing people today because it's our goal, our mission, our passion, our purpose, and our calling, I dare to say, to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Just remember, we have a 15-minute meet and greet between 2:45 to 3, and we would love for you to help on and join into the conversation. Feel free to invite your friends, your coworkers, those lazy coworkers right next to you. You know who they are. They ask and say, "Hey, it's Humanity Happy Hour. Time to watch." So always bring your loved ones, and we love them dearly to being part of the conversation, and we'll like to have them on as well. Just remember, every Tuesday, Sharon Kara Sandy, that's hosted by Miss Sandy. I host Conversation for Humanity on Wednesday, and Miss Carla Fedigan hosts Humanity Happy Hour here every Thursday. And as you jump on, whether it be on our business page on Facebook or on my personal profile, which is LinkedIn Live, or on our YouTube channel, please let us know where you're watching from. And even if you want to join into the conversation today, I will share with you the live link. It's already posted on all 3 platforms. It says today's link, click here, and that will be the one you will join on and everything. So as you jump on, like I said, feel free to comment any questions, concerns, even show topics. We would love to hear from you and everything like that. And even if you're watching on this on a replay, use the hashtag replay, and we would love to hear from you as well. And speak of Miss Carla, here she is.
Hey, Chris. Great intro there. I want to chime in too and say happy birthday to the Marine Corps. My son was in the Marine Corps for 10 years, and once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine.
That is true.
So I'm always a Marine mom. And happy birthday happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans, not only for the men and women that serve all around the world, but also their families back home.
Oh, that too, yes.
They're serving right along with you and holding their breath and making sure that you're safe. And I remember many deployments where I knew if anything happened to my son, he was doing what he wanted to do. So.
And how long did he serve?
10 years. He was in
My word, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Nice. But again, our freedoms wouldn't be the freedoms that we have if it wasn't for those people who have fought and suffered and even died to be able to bring us those freedoms each and every single day. So from everyone else here at Bringing Men Together, we just truly honor and support you every day in every way. So
my lazy coworker is over here in his bed, half asleep. The barking is over with. So it's not time to come listen. It's time to not bark. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. And can I just share with you? I just found out that Miss Sandy just told me she got on the call beforehand, but she had to go do some other things. In Canada, it's called Remembrance Day in Canada.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. It falls on the same day.
Oh, okay. Now, if they could just get their Thanksgiving together, we'd be doing good.
Let's take it one day and keep it the same day. Not like hers is like what, a month ahead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget when the Canadian Thanksgiving was. I seem to think it was early October.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah.
But I found that out today. I did not know they had Remembrance Day, and that was kind of unique. So I was like, I learned something today. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what's on tap for us today, Miss Carla?
Well, we've been talking about change and talking about how people are resistant to change, and I think I've said this before that one of the expressions that I hate is this OMG, oh my God, because I think that just automatically kicks people into a crisis mode, and they think negatively about what's going on. And I've seen it so many times in the workplace when the companies trying to implement change literally for the better of the organization and the betterment of the employees. But there's so many people that are, oh my God, they're changing something again, and it's just like, don't you realize the positive side on this and how much it's going to make your day better, or the workflow better, or patients are going to be happier, customers are going to be happier. And I thought maybe we talk about why are people so resistant, and how can leadership frame it in such a way to change that negative into a positive. And also in our personal lives, we have a crisis that comes up. I'm trying to think of things, like my dad has something that breaks at his house and I have to go down there. Or like I'm going down there.
What, you talking about printer problem or something like that?
Fine. That's what that phone call was about.
Yeah.
But, even though it's like a problem, it's not particularly tragic or anything like that. It's easy to go, again, something else, but then like one day I'm going to miss that. So you have to look at it differently.
Correct.
And think about so that's not too bad, because what's the alternative of it? Is the fact that one day he's not going to be here anymore. He always gives me this grocery bag full of stuff every time I go down there. And it's got magazine clippings, old magazines, recipes, little odds and ends that he thinks that I might want.
Right.
And while a lot of the stuff is not necessarily something that I would really want or need, and it's like, oh my gosh, another sack. I told my husband one day last week, I said, one day I'm going to miss having these crap sacks. He calls them a crap sack because it's full of crap, But for him, he thought of me. So think of that, if somebody gives you something that, like, they go on vacation and they buy you this little trinket of whatever, what comes to mind when you go to Florida and you used to go to the souvenir shops and they have all the shells that have Florida, all that stuff. It's like stuff that you would never use in your house.
Right.
But you know what? You got to think that person took the time to think about you and thought that you might like it. So it's all in how you think about it. That negative, you really need to turn into a positive.
What I really do, and I really try my hardest, because I know every day is different, but what I try to do, Carla, is I always look to it as a gift that has been given to us, and then we can turn right back around, like you said, if it's done in a negative context that we think it is, but in reality it's not, flip that into a positive dynamic, and then maybe even share it with others to such an extent it creates that positive ripple effect throughout space and time.
Well, I've actually gotten to the point where I don't even use the term, oh my God, anymore, because it automatically shifts you into a negative mood, a negative understanding of the situation. And I know when I was in healthcare, my dog gets over here trying to cover himself up. It's hysterical. You need help, buddy? Hold on. No, hold on. You know you're on national TV being a pain in the patootie. There you go. He loves sleeping under blankets. So he'll get his head under, and then he'll try to flip the blanket back over him, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So it's hysterical. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
But yeah, I don't even use that term anymore. When I used to work in healthcare, people would it was almost every day there was something that was changing, and I saw it as a change for the better, and a better way to for the workflow, and a lot of different positives in it, whereas a lot of people thought of it as a lot of negatives. And they were like, well, how come they just don't put this out once a week? I said, well, some things cannot wait for the end of the week for the Friday dump email. And how would you like to get a dumped email on Friday and then have to address it on Monday? Get an email at the end of the week of, these are the things that we're changing starting Monday. And then how many people are actually going to look at that? They're going to go, oh, I'll deal with that on Monday.
Yeah.
And then they can't take action on anything on Monday. So
yeah.
But I think it is important for an organization to actually maybe not change everything all at once, but do it gradually if you can. Figure out the priority items and present it in a way that, why is it beneficial for everybody?
Well, it goes back to what I truly believe in, Carla. It's about meeting them where they are. Understand the needs in actual gifts, talents, and skill sets of everyone at that given moment, because every moment's going to change, because we know change is a constant. So not only does their day-to-day change, but they actually have a value-based change going from day to day themselves. So today, what they valued yesterday may end up being different today, and what they probably value or prioritize tomorrow is going to be different than what it was today. And as people and even leaders, I truly believe that we can have that opportunity to see that dynamic play out for a positive result, because if we frame it in the right language and frame it in the right context of where it wants to go and how we want to achieve X, Y, and Z or whatever, then you are literally meeting them, like I say, where they are, but yet they're coming back to you in that kind of guidance mode, and maybe they can give the whole dynamic a nugget of information that you may not have had yesterday or earlier in the day, or whatever that might be. Because sometimes when you just let the conversation be, and you just let the opportunity arise on its own, and you are creating that environment with them, not for them, but with them, it creates that dynamic that they can and really truly embrace that change and do see it as a net positive, not a net negative. Because the more often we focus on the negative, then how do we get back to the other side of that? How does that look like? What does that look like to them?
Well, if you present the problem as, hey, this is what the problem is, and we need to find a solution because maybe the customers aren't happy. It's too much of a detailed process for the employees. So we maybe need to streamline a process to where it's a win-win for everybody. When you frame it in it like what's in it for them, they're going to be more willing to make that change. And then instead of just saying, okay, so here's the problem, this is why we're going to do it, and this is what we're going to do about it, you have to get them in on the the change, and they have to have some ownership for it too, and allow them to participate in coming up with a solution. And like my friend that they played stupid idea time, and look where she is now. It's like, what are we going to do, and how are we going to solve it? Somebody's tidbit of solution over here might fit well with somebody else's piece over here and actually come together as a great solution. So you need to let people know that all options are open on the table for discussion. And if it's option A, let's look at, what if we implement it? What if we don't? What are the good things about it? What are the pitfalls about it? And allow people to come up with a solution. And they're more apt to want to change.
Hello, Joanne. How are you doing today? We would love to hear from you, Joanne. Of course, Christine is chiming in, and she says, agreed, Carla. So, Joanne, we would love to hear from you, and you're from Seattle, Washington. So, Joanne, we would love to hear from you. So, why don't you join us if you can? Here is the link, Joanne, and I'll send it to you here just quickly. And we would love to hear your perspective on this. And let's get you involved. So, Joanne, please join us. And you will be seeing the link here shortly. And there you go, Joanne. You have the link. So please come join us. We will love to engage in conversation with you. And Christine, if you can join too, please. We would love to hear from you, because we had a great conversation yesterday too.
Yeah,
so
we did.
We have some great ideas.
Great food for thought yesterday.
Yeah. It really made me think of what we were talking about yesterday, because when I was on the phone with her, oh my God, I just love when the sparks fly. I just love when that happens.
Yeah, it got deep.
That it did. That it did. So
maybe it'll get deep, and Brian will get on the call today.
I'm hoping he will. I actually talked with him this morning. I actually had a good, engaging conversation with him this morning. But yeah, when it comes to change, we know that's going to be that constant thing. We really do. But like I told Christine yesterday, is maybe if we can build a bridge with them and to them, of course, because you want to meet them where they're at, maybe you can get it to such an extent that by the act of simply building it with them, they can probably see the change when they know they're, number one, they're not alone in it. Number two, they know that their best interest of being served for a greater purpose and a greater calling. I truly believe once we see that and realize that.
Well, a lot of people, when it's proposed that there's going to be a change and you're looking for solutions and you identify the problem, when you actually tell people how many people are impacted by what's going on with the problem, a lot of people, it's an eye-opener for them, because they haven't thought past what's in it for them. They haven't thought about how it makes it more difficult for everyone else in the organization because of the way it's being done. So let's come up with a better way to do it.
So and sometimes a better way is not a wrong way or right way. It's just probably a different way to create maybe that different result that may have not worked out in the past, which could be better. It may not. You never know until you actually go through the process and get there to where it needs to go.
Well, you could still try a new way of doing something and still find kinks in that. So you go back to the drawing board and you think, okay, how can we improve upon this, because this isn't working. You just don't throw up your hands in failure. And when you own your business, it's always changing. You know, you might have a great workflow going. And then next thing you know, in your social media marketing that you're doing, you know, there's been changes in that. There's always changes that you have to adapt to.
Yeah. And thank you, Joanne and Christine, for watching today. We greatly appreciate you. Please put your comments or questions or insights while you're watching. We greatly appreciate you being here today. Here we go. Let's see. I'm thinking it's a Brianism, but we'll find out here in a second. Let me refresh this live stream, and I will tell you, because it says service to others. And yes, that is a Grahamism. So that's Graham. Yes. So Graham, what does service to others in relevance to change? How does that show up to you, Graham? We would love to hear from you. What does that look like to you? Because I think he's bringing up a great point when it comes to that change. How does that service maybe show up to others as? Like I was talking to you earlier, is how does that show up when a change happens? How does that be realized by everyone at every level of an organization? Does it show up the same way, or is it different? How does that occur?
What does it look like to you?
Well, for me, the way I used to do it when I was real young is I would do like what you just said a second ago. I would just literally throw up my hands and say, "Oh my," I'll just go off. Yeah, I would just say, I give up. But now I have learned through the school of hard knocks, so to speak, and I know there could be a better way to get the result that I'm looking for. There could be even a different way. And it's not necessarily having to do the same thing over and over. It's just like the very definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again to expect a different result. Why do that? Yeah. And see, I just know for me, if you can take a step back and see it from the paradigm of how did we get here? Why did we get into this place? And then taking it back from that. And I believe this is Graham. Carla was talking about people focusing on what is it in for them. But we provided a service to others, we are not just thinking of ourselves. I believe that's Graham. I believe that's a Grahamism. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's I mean, a good leader doesn't make it about them. They don't think about themselves. They think about serving others, and that's a servant leader. And you have to meet them where they're at and know what's going on with them, and just let them know that they're part of the change. They have a part in how the change is being made. Now, some things you don't necessarily, you have to change it because that's just the way it is, and there's no other way to do it. Right. Whether it be a government policy or whatever, but a lot of things and workflow and things like that, people can have a lot of input into. And when you allow them that input, they have stake in the game. And they feel a part of something. They feel part of not only a workplace, but also their workplace community.
And I forget how Christine actually kind of worded it. And if Christine, if you're still on, probably it might be a good time to mention it here while I'm thinking about it, because I know there was a great way you actually worded it. But when it comes to that change, it is literally maybe in one way, shape, or form creating that environment that you're guiding them. And as I share with a lot of people, for us to understand the change, for me, the way I do it is I embrace it. I take it for what it is. I don't try to manipulate it, add, subtract from it, whatever. Because the more you try to manipulate it, more often than not, it doesn't come to fruition for you. Hello, Miss Sandy.
Hey. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So you guys call it Veterans Day and we call it Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
And Miss Carla was just saying, hey, it would be nice if Thanksgiving fell on the same day.
So maybe we meet in the middle.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Now your Thanksgiving is in November.
Yeah, it's the 25th.
Yeah, and our Thanksgiving is in October.
Isn't it early October?
Yeah.
Like around our Columbus Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh, it's 25th. That's when I'm getting my surgery.
Yes, and we'll be thinking of you on that day because I know that's something you would want looking forward to, but sometimes we got to get that done.
Well, I'll just be happy when it's over with, Chris. So I've been waiting for a while. So, but they phoned me from the hospital and said there was a cancellation, so I could get in because the original date they gave me was the 10th of December.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said, fine, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I told the receptionist at the ENT guy's office that if there was a cancellation to have them phone me because likely I could do it and I would prefer to get it done sooner than later. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So Ms. Carla, why don't you bring Sandy up to speed of what we've been talking about so far?
Oh, wow. Gosh, where do we start? We were talking about change and why people are resistant to change and why a lot of people think of a problem or something that needs to be changed as negative, and changing that negative into a positive and learning from it. And we were also talking about presenting, in the workplace, presenting a problem, letting people know what the impact was, not only because most people only think about what they're doing, how it impacts them, but not how it impacts the whole organization, and collectively come up with solutions for a problem for that.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to handle it because, again, as we know, imposing change on people work very well, but if they have a stake in it because they've made some contributions or been part of the discussion or whatever, they're far more likely to accept it and proceed with it. But it's something that, just a lot of people, I don't know why people don't like change. I get bored, so I'm happy to have something new to try or whatever. But I guess a lot of people just get into their comfort zone and they draw that line in the sand and they stay behind that line because they're comfortable there. But it's too bad because then you don't grow and you don't learn, and it's not really a good way to go through life. On top of which, especially when there's a problem, we have to problem solve. So we got to look at what the options are in terms of moving forward and getting over this rock in the road.
Yeah. Well, this is what Christine just chimed in on it. This is what me and her kind of discussed yesterday. She said, yesterday we were talking about change and how it can be a form of loss. It is important that we who have to embrace the change, reach out to those who are struggling with it and to guide them through it. Like Carla said, help them and see what part of this changes, what piece of the bridge they are building. Because she really loved that analogy I had. It's like building a bridge with them and everything. So what from Christine?
I mean, we're all in this together in any organization. And so we have to work together. If there's some issue to resolve, then we need to sit down and put our heads together and come up with a possible solution or two or three or whatever in order to get by this boulder in the road. I mean, I've said this to you guys many times. No one's life is a long, straight, smooth road. It just doesn't work that way. And the people who are positive and who are prepared to problem solve are the ones that will continue to move forward and have a better life. I mean, we've talked before about the splatters and the bouncers. If you're going to splat and just stay there, well, good luck to you. But, if you have a problem and you bounce back, then problems can be solved. So it's just a matter of, how are people looking at things? And I agree with Christine that, sometimes you have to sort of help them along to see that this is something that we're all in together. And so we need to hold hands and solve it together.
I never looked at change as the form of a loss. And I'm literally at a loss to try and come up with some examples of that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carla. I don't think it's a loss either. I think it's an opportunity to move forward with something new and something different. And again, it's part of that keep moving forward and learning.
Yeah, well, if Christina could come up with some examples, maybe, because I'd love to try and wrap my brain around it, but I just I see it as something that has to be conquered, not something that's lost.
Yes,
It's an issue that has to be addressed.
Yeah, and we do. We have to resolve things that are, that are put in our track. We have to find a way to move them, get around them, jump over them. I mean, whatever we have to do to keep moving forward, particularly in an organization. Because if we just let, these kinds of obstacles, if you will, stop us, then the business isn't going to grow and it probably won't last. So it is very important to deal with issues. And if we have to change things, then we have to change things so that we can move forward and continue to be a thriving, successful business. I mean, it just is what it is. And, you got to keep up.
Well, this is what Christine just replied back to you, Carla. When things change, we lose our routines.
True.
Old ways of doing things that we felt comfortable with change. Old ways of thinking changes as well. This can be a form of loss. The uncertainty of the newness can also create fear.
And fear.
Yeah, I guess Sandy and I are probably so much alike that we're so accustomed to change, and just to us, change is like a ping pong game. Wherever the ball is, we've got the paddle there to figure out what the problems are. And I don't making changes that are going to help an organization. I look at it as if, well, yeah, it's something different. It's kind of a loss, and I'm going to have to rechange my thinking. And yes, it's a loss in the way that I've been thinking. It's might be a little bit of a stress to my comfort zone, but I've been out of my comfort zone for a long time.
Me too.
Life is fun sitting in your comfort zone. You got to get out there and try new things and figure them out and make mistakes and just change.
Yeah.
You got to go with the flow.
Well, and fear holds you back. People who, sort of hide behind fear, if you will, it holds you back. You got to conquer that fear. You got to find ways to get over it and move forward, because otherwise you never will move forward. Fear is going to totally hold you back, and that's not a good thing. So people who are very fearful and hide behind their fear all the time are never going to move forward, and they're never going to accomplish very much.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes it is a little scary to try something new or whatever, but that's okay. Suck it up.
Start your own business. That's
Well, exactly, Carla. You and I both did that.
yeah. It's like, people go, but I don't have all my ducks in a row. I don't know all there is to know about it. It's like you are so frozen in that fear of failure. Get out and do it. It's going to be messy. You're going to make mistakes.
It's okay. It's how you learn.
You're going to fail is if you give up.
Well, and the other thing is, especially with business, Carla, there are a lot of people out there who can help you, who have already navigated that minefield. And I mean, I learned a lot, because when I started, I did a lot of networking, and all the people I networked with were entrepreneurs and had already, moved forward with their business. So I got a lot of advice. In addition, if you're really struggling, get a business coach. And there are some very good ones out there who will, sort of challenge you to try different things and move forward with things and give you ideas to try and so on and so forth. And if you really feel that you need that kind of support, then hire somebody and do it so that you can, you can move forward with your business. It's,
even like posting on social media, it's set up a challenge amongst your friends that you're in business with, that for 30 days, you're going to post something every day on social media.
Well, and it's just a matter of, overcoming your fear.
Overcoming your fears, no matter what it is.
I had no idea what I was getting into, when I started this on a dare from my son. But, I like what I do. I've always liked doing this stuff. And so now it's just, I had to learn PowerPoint. I had to learn how to use the back end of WordPress. I had to get more familiar with all kinds of computer stuff because I hadn't had the need when I was practicing hygiene. Yes, we had our files online and stuff like that, but it's not the same as actually having to work programs and do things with them and so on and so forth. And it was something that you have to do.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned before, it's actually good for human brains to do that kind of thing, because then you are creating new neural pathways and it's healthy for your brain. It keeps it sharp. So
look at the pandemic. The pandemic was a huge negative. There's still people yet that have lost their lives. I mean, I won't compare it to other things, but that's really sad. It's really sad that we're in the situation that we are. But look what it's done for businesses to allow people to work from home, and look at the work-life balance it's given some people that are working from home. Look at the people that have gotten out of their comfort zone and they've learned how to communicate differently. They've learned how to use Zoom or whatever other platforms your company might be using. They've learned how to effectively communicate with the people they work with a lot better.
Yeah,
there's so many positives that have come out of the pandemic. There have been people that are like, I never realized how much family time I was losing because of my job. And conversations about the Great Resignation, that there are tons of people that have left the workforce because they've decided they want more. Yeah. They want better. They're finally focusing, like Europeans, that they work to live, not live to work. And they're finally stopping smelling the roses in life instead of waiting till they're 70 or 80 and dying and they've never done anything that they wanted to do in life.
And that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
It's really pretty sad.
And I want to jump in here real quick because I want to hear from Joanne. This is what Joanne just said. And she was replying back to Graham. Before you provide the service that you have to understand the quote unquote need or desired of one, you are saying that you are just a hired hand. Delivery service following direction from someone else. If can't take time to evaluate the need, shouldn't be providing service in the first place. Of course, your understanding of the need is progressive, continuous improvement. And see, to me, Joanne, that goes into what I truly believe here is human development. Once you develop the person as a whole person, then you will continuously grow and thrive from that point. And then Graham replied back to her saying, I agree, Joanne, but I also believe that there is a benefit to everyone providing a service to others, whatever their role. If it could result in the change happening more quickly as people aren't focused on themselves only. And it is called a comfort zone for a reason. Sheldon Cooper evidently said that.
Well, it's just a matter again, Chris, as I said to you when we first started talking about the website and everything, you can't impose changes on people if they really don't think that they need the help or need to make the change. But when people have an issue, I told you, they Google it. And if we have good SEO on the website, they will come to us, and then we will have, the conversation to find out very specifically what they are looking for. And then once we determine that, we'll decide who's going to deal with them, because it has to be one of us who has the tools to provide them with what they're looking for. And then we will put together a program that is aiming at those specific needs so that the client will be happy. Because if we do that, they will be happy. And if it's presented in a way that makes sense to their people, because adults learn when they see a need, and if they see that it's advantageous to start using the strategies and the approaches and the skills that we are providing them, then they will actually start doing it. Mm-hmm. And then it's a win-win for everybody, and the company will be happy they made that investment. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter, or, even if it's an individual and we coach individuals, we still need to know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's not helpful.
Yeah.
Not helpful for us, and not helpful for them. So we have to have that conversation and find out very specifically what they need. And once we learn that, then we can definitely put together the elements in a program that will provide them with new strategies and approaches and skills that will help them to overcome whatever it is that's making them crazy. So, it's not really that hard, but it is an approach that I have found really works well. And I know a lot of trainers who don't do that.
You got to listen first.
Absolutely.
You got to figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah. And if you don't do that, you're not going to help them the way they expect or the way they need. And so, yeah, exactly. Listen, learn, lead. It's the very best way to do it. As I told you, I always have what I call a discussion interview with a new client before I ever start putting anything together, because I want to make sure that I know what they're looking for. And then, as I also mentioned, I send them documentation of different elements that we could put into the program, and I let them pick which ones they think are going to be most beneficial to them. And once they've decided, then I put those elements into the program and also create the fully documented syllabus for the attendees. It's just a matter of, what are you doing? I mean, what we're trying to do here is help. We're trying to help employees and employers have, a better culture in their organization and to have better outcomes from their people. And the only way to do that is to find out what specifically they're looking for. Otherwise, we're not going to be that helpful.
Yeah.
Well, this is what Joanne just said, and she was replying back to Graham. Graham, I agree. Everyone should deliver a service, but I resent it when people try to deliver a service I do not want or need. So diagnose first, survey, listen, observe before you decide to impose what you offer.
Well, that's what we just said, right?
That's what we were talking about. Listen to them first, figure out what their needs are, tailor what you're offering to their needs. And just because you offer something doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take advantage of it. I mean, I've worked with people that say that they want to lose weight, for example. And I talk to them about it and come up with a plan for them. And if it's important to them, then they'll take advantage of it. And if it's not, they're not going to make that change. They're going to have to want to make that change.
Yes.
And for me, it starts with their mindset of why, if you're going to make a personal change, why do you want to make that change?
Yep.
And it's not just to look good for the high school reunion, for example. You take it deeper than that, and you say, well, what would it mean for you to achieve your goal? And it's not necessarily looking good for that occasion. It could be something like, well, I was always overweight in high school and everybody made fun of me, and I really want to tell them that I can take control of my health and I want to be healthy, something like that, but if they're not ready, they're not ready. If you're going to talk to people on personal things, and there might be some businesses that love the presentation that you're doing, but for whatever reason, they're not ready.
That's why they have to come to us, because you can't go to an organization and say, oh, you should do this. Really? Not going to fly. And again, it makes people very uncomfortable and they're not interested. But if they realize they have a problem and they want to seek a solution, as I told you, generally what they do, whether it's an individual or an organization, they Google their problem. Mm-hmm. And, if we've got the right SEO and we've got the right problem solutions up there on the site, then the chances are that we'll get a request.
Yeah.
Then we can speak to them, either on the phone or send them an email and do a follow-up with them. And then we can sit down and listen to what they are seeking and then show them what we could provide them with. And then we can move forward from there. But again, you can't go into some company that doesn't think they have a problem and tell them that they have a problem and they should be doing this, because they aren't going to listen to you and they aren't going to care, and there's no way they're going to do it.
They're going to go, how do you know? You don't know. You don't know me.
Exactly.
I mean, how many times have you gotten a connection notice from somebody on LinkedIn selling their services to you in the connection message, and they don't even know you from Adam, but they think that because you got a business, you need X, Y, and Z. and we can help you do it. Well, I don't even have that problem, you know?
Ones that I get the most are ones that want to sell you some marketing ideas. And I write them back right away and I say, here's the thing. What I've learned about my particular business is no push marketing works.
Yeah.
So I wish you success in what you're doing, but I can't use your services. So have a great day. Bye-bye.
Well, I get the ones that want to offer me a small business loan. Thanks, but I don't need it.
Yeah. Well, see, this is also what comes up for me, ladies, is when we go to a organization, whether it be big, small, mom and pops, whatever that might be, it's about understanding, number one, the model of the world that organization probably works under. What does that model of the world look like to them? And even on a leadership level, and even to a partnership level, I don't believe in the word employees anymore because I don't believe that. I truly believe in the partnership dynamic. But when we go to those partners and understand their model of the world that they work under, maybe from us and our point of view here, whether to be bringing humanity together, X, Y, and Z, consulting, whoever that might be, maybe our model of the world that we can step outside, maybe just for a brief moment, and recognize the opportunity that is there, recognize maybe the blind spots that they may have. They might even show something to us that we may have a blind spot, whatever that might be, because once you have that conversation to be had, and you're having it on a deep, meaningful conversation. And Joanne just said, in sales, I think the phrase is next. That's kind of that's kind of cool. And Graham just chimed in and saying, what are your thoughts on change in the workplace that you want to implement, but people don't want the change to happen? What's your thoughts on that, Carla?
Well, sometimes change has to happen. You know, if it's a particular, maybe you're not in regulation on something that you're doing and change has to happen. It has to happen. And sometimes it's for the betterment of the organization and the workflow. And when you say people, is it one or two, or is it the whole partnership, your whole employee base? You know, I also look at it from the flip side that, you know, like we talked about, presenting what the problem is, what why it's causing a problem, what are some of the benefits for change, how are we going to change it, start the ball rolling on suggestions for change. And you're probably still going to have some people that don't agree with it, but they're either going to have to adapt to that change or go elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes down to, if what a company is doing is so against the grain for you that it's not within your philosophy or the way that you do things, or maybe management is not the way that you would foresee people being treated. You know, there's a whole host of reasons. You got to either put up or shut up. You either have to make the change or you need to go look somewhere else.
Well, and the other thing is, if you're going to discuss some kind of changes, you need to show the people why it would be advantageous to accept the change. They have to know what the advantages will be and how it will make their life easier or make things go faster, whatever it is. But you need to explain what the benefits of the change are going to be. It doesn't mean that everybody's still going to accept it, Carla, but I think far better chance of having acceptance if they understand what the benefits will be, especially, you know, if it's going to be beneficial to them. So it's just a matter of how you describe it, how you bring it forward, how you present it to them. And again, if they've got a stake in it and they provide some ideas or suggestions for tweaking it in a certain way, and everybody agrees, then let's tweak it in that way. And let's, because if it's going to get more people on board, then let's do it.
Yeah.
why would you not? So it totally depends on how you deal with it and how you present it and how you get people on board with it. They need to know what the advantages are. And again, if they have a stake in it, they're far more likely to accept it. So you want to encourage input.
And then if you have people that are not willing to change or disgruntled about the change, shall I say, then I think that as a leader, you have the ability to go to them and say, okay, so help me understand why you're not accepting of this change. What could we do differently? And let them know, I see it this way, that if we're doing it this way, this was the best solution that we all came up with, that it helps this, that, and the other, and it makes your life better, it makes things work better, it makes the flow better for the company, whatever the positives were for that. I think you have that opportunity to have that open conversation one-on-one and say, what is it that you're not liking about this? And it may be something off the wall that nobody had ever thought of that could be implemented into the process, and then they would be accepting of it. But there again, you're going to have some people that are
just ask them
no matter what.
Just ask them what's holding them back, Carla. That's a question that you can just ask. What's holding you back? This is something that we would like to move forward with. Most other people seem to be on board with it. What is holding you back?
And for some people, it might be that because somebody else came up with the solution before they did,
Yeah.
And it could be crazy stuff.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Question.
Yeah. You got to find out, because if in the end they don't want to get on board, then it's probably time for them to leave.
And there again, you're listening as a leader and you're learning as a leader.
Yeah. But if they don't want to get on board in the end, even when you've tried to encourage them to give you information and so on and so forth, then you might just have to say, I'm really sorry, but this is how we're moving forward. And if you don't want to get on board with it, I guess this isn't the place for you.
Well, it also shows up to me, ladies, and Joanne, please, we would love to hear more of your comments. So don't worry, no worries about your comments and everything like that. We encourage that. For me, again, the way I see it when it comes to even the relevance to change or anything that we do in our lives is, number one, it's about knowing your place and space in the whole grand system that is there. And everything, just knowing your role. Why am I here? How am I going to show up to people? How's that going to be in relevance to them on their day-to-day? How are they going to show up to me? How do I take that? And again, I will go back to what I said earlier. I embrace change. Change is a constant. It's always going to happen. We can't stop it. We can't force it. It's always going to do what it's going to do. It's the natural order of things. But I recognize that it's going to be there, but I am not going to sit back and whine and cry and maybe even be a victim. Oh, woe is me. I can't do this. Or whatever. I used to be that when I was a kid. I guarantee before you got on, Sandy, I told that to Carla. I was like, when I was a kid, I would just throw up my hands up and say, I don't care. I'm done. But we can't let the fear overtake what is possible on the other side. It's like what me and Christine was talking about yesterday about building that bridge. When they have an investment in you and you have an investment into them, they know that they are being heard. They are not going to be left alone. They are going to be there with that guide with them. And then in turn, they might even be a guide with you, because even as a leader, number one, you don't have to have the knowledge to say, hey, I know it all. This is the things that we're going to teach you, and this is what we want you to do. It shouldn't be, and that's what Brian has always taught me. It's like sometimes, especially in academics, we look to people in academics thinking that they have all the knowledge, resources, and wherewithal that they know all the answers. Sometimes that's not the case, especially in business. We sometimes don't have to know all the answers at the very given time that's been presented to them. But what we can do is recognize the change for what it is, just accept it. Like I said, don't try to manipulate it or try to force it on the people like we say, but just let it be. And I dare to say, ladies, and I've said this again and I will say it again, if you let things be for what they are and you cultivate that environment to such an extent, there can even be a point of transformation that comes out of that. Transformation is not only powerful, but like Manu said yesterday, change is also powerful. But when you combine those two together, transformation and change, when you really think about it, they're interconnected. What's your thoughts on that, Carla? You're muted.
Unmute yourself.
Sorry. Transformation and change are pretty much one and the same. If you have an ice cube and you sit it out on your counter and it melts, it transforms from a solid frozen state to a liquid state. That's change. When you change the way that you're doing things, that's change. If you transform your thinking, you're changing the way you're thinking. If you do a physical transformation and you lose 30 pounds, that's a change in your physical state. Transformation and change are always the one and the same to me. They're interchangeable.
Miss Sandy?
Well, I agree with Carla. I think that, change is transformation. And it's just a matter of people understanding that sometimes in order to move forward and in order to make things better, sometimes you have to effect a change. It just is what it is, especially today. Things are moving very fast, with different kinds of technology and different ways of approaching business, like Carla said, with a lot of people working from home now and, different kinds of things because of the pandemic. The pandemic has made us do a lot of things that, we maybe didn't want to do, but we just didn't have a choice. And some of those things are going to stick around because they've helped people to spend more time with their family and, different kinds of things. And maybe they don't want to go back to an office.
Well, they shifted their mindset.
Yeah.
A lot of people have shifted their mindset, and that in of itself is a change.
Yep. And there's nothing, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just a matter of, as long as, because of the technology we have, even if you're not in the office, you can still have a meeting together on Zoom or, something else where you can exchange ideas and make sure that everybody's doing their part in the project that we're all working on or, whatever it is. And it's actually up to the team leader to arrange those meetings on a regular basis so that people can stay in touch, even if they're not physically in the same office. Because it doesn't have to be in the same office. We can certainly have a very good discussion on Zoom or, whatever, so that everybody is still on the same page and knows how things are moving forward and what everybody else is doing and so on and so forth. And it is very important, particularly when people are not in the office anymore, that the team leader arranges those meetings on a regular basis. There should probably be one at least once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on how things are going. And that team leader also needs to stay in touch with everybody. So they need to have, even individual conversations to find out how things are going and so on and so forth. And if that's not happening, then things aren't going to run very well.
No, it's not.
So it really is up to the team leader to make sure that there is continuity. So that they've got to arrange individual meetings and meetings as a group so that people can still have the discussions and bounce ideas off each other regarding the situation that they're all working on and so on and so forth. Because if we don't have those opportunities, then everybody's working in a vacuum. And that's not very effective either. So
a lot of people see Zoom as a negative and because people are using it because of the pandemic. I see it as a blessing.
I agree. I think that, Zoom and Skype and, some of these other platforms, if we didn't have them, it would be very hard to stay in touch. I mean, I told you guys, I haven't seen my grandsons for almost 2 years. We do Skype with them every Sunday. It's not the same as being with them, but at least I get to talk to them and see them. And it's better than nothing. And
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, that's how things are these days. And we have to, unfortunately, we have to sort of accept that right now.
Yeah.
But, don't scoff at it. We're fortunate to have the technology that we have today so that we can do some of these things.
Well, I think about that with my daughter living in Zurich, and then she'll go off to Africa for 3 or 4 days and come back to Zurich. And thank God for WhatsApp or it could, because that's the easiest way for us to connect with each other, whether it be in a text or say, hey, let's catch up this weekend. Because years ago in the late 80s, when I lived in Europe for 10 years, my parents were here in Atlanta and I was over in France and Italy, and it was the only option you had was a $60 phone call, or you had a letter that would get there in maybe 7 to 10 days.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, I do phone.
Find the positives.
I do phone my son because on my cell phone, I have free long distance for Canada. But by and large, we talk on Zoom or, FaceTime on the phone or, whatever. But I can get in touch with him really whenever I want. And it's nice to have our Sunday meetings with the kids and with his wife, so we can all have a conversation, see how everybody's week went, and so on and so forth. It's just a matter of, without this technology, it would be very difficult. I mean, as I said, I miss the boys terribly. I really do, because I love doing things with them. But at least I can see them and have a conversation with them. It's not as good as being with them, but it's better than nothing. And I feel very fortunate that we do have this technology. And like for the last 2 years for Passover, you have a big family dinner. Well, of course, we couldn't do that either. So Mark did it on Zoom.
Good idea.
Well, again, Yale and I sat here where I am, and we had our glasses of wine and our plate of matzah and, all the other stuff. And we had our Haggadahs, which is the prayer book that you use for the Seder. And Mark assigned reading. I mean, Kim's parents were also on the call, and so was his brother, her brother, rather. And our daughter was on the call. And so, it was kind of like being together, even though physically we weren't together, but at least we could talk and we could share the prayers and so on and so forth, because you take turns. And even the boys, can read some of it. So, because they can read. So they would do some of the reading. And it was just nice to sort of be together in a way, because normally when it's not the pandemic, Yale and I always go to Toronto for Passover. We've always done it pretty much since Mark got married.
It goes to show that if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're problem solving for an organization, I guess this is my call to action. You have to listen to people. You have to present the problem in a way of why it's causing a problem, how it affects everyone in the organization, and throw suggestions out there, put them together, and encourage everybody to come together in the workplace to solve a problem. Even if it's in your own household and you have issues, you can do the same principles to do that. But always try and find the positive in a situation where there's change has to be implemented. Look at the positives of it and leave the negatives, because if you're negative about it, you're not going to make that change.
Oh, nobody likes negativity. And as we've already said, a lot of times change can be positive because it can really help a situation, especially if you've got a big boulder in the road and you have to figure out how to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of figuring out what's the best thing we can do here. What does everybody think? Contribute. What do you think? Offer suggestions. Don't just impose. Here's what we're going to do. No.
You're not going to win friends and influence people that way.
No.
Yeah.
Even if you have an answer, I think it's better to invite others to make suggestions, because you know what? They might even come up with something better than you thought.
Right.
Well, and even if you did have an answer that you thought that, well, and hopefully no one has gone into the situation of, I know what we're going to do, but I'm going to throw it out there just to see what anybody else thinks. Put yours out there on the table too. And you never know that what you might have started off with a nugget, somebody else can add to make it even better than what you came into the situation thinking it was going to be.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. And see, and this is what I truly believe, and we'll go to Joanne's comment here in a second. To me, when it comes to the change, it's about seeing the value within that change. How does that value show up to them and also show up to me, that we both can see that value that's going to be really exponential in scope? And this is what Joanne just said. Graham, I can't resist. Some changes are good for you, others are not. Sometimes you need to resist a change, like some of which is happening in our country today. Resistance is usually based on fear. Honestly, evaluate what you are changing. In the process, you may be the one to change rather than pushing ahead with your fear changes that are not needed or wanted. Get buy-in, don't mandate. Oh, the buy-in is a critical thing, absolutely. Because if you get more people to buy into it, and again, like what you said before, is that they have a stake in it and they have a said way to that. I think that's truly powerful, and this is what I believe.
The mandates are like the mandates that are going on now, and that could be a whole nother conversation we will not get into. But those mandates are just like a manager coming in going, we're making the change and this is what it's going to be. That's exactly what a mandate is. You're mandating you're making it mandatory that somebody has to do it, as opposed to asking people what their input is.
And that doesn't work.
And it doesn't work.
It really doesn't work. You're far better off inviting suggestions from everybody. And you'll probably come up with a better solution if you do it that way. And you will also get more buy-in if you do it that way. Imposing change is really not a good way to handle things. A change may be necessary, but it doesn't mean that you have to say, this is the way we're doing it, and we're done. No, no, no.
But if you don't have decent reasoning for coming in and saying even why you're mandating something, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yes.
People are going to look at you like you're friggin' crazy.
Well, that's why you have to give them reasons why this change is necessary and why it will be advantageous to everyone if we implement it. So let me hear what you think about how we can fix this, and invite people to offer their suggestions and their ideas. And then together we can decide which ones we will actually implement. But if you just come in and say, this is what we're doing, well, you're just going to shut everybody down.
Right, right. And see, ladies, what I truly believe is, and this is a great call to action from Graham, accept people the way they are. That is absolutely true. But I think more importantly is when we literally create that environment that's so enticing, it's got potential to grow, the thriving ability is there, and everyone knows that they can have a part into that. And then, like I said before on many other calls, to me, the best investment is the human investment, because once we get to the point of human development, then we can move further, because it's not just personal development we have to attribute to when it comes to change. It's not just professional development we also have to attribute to that change. It's the whole person. And once we get to the whole person dynamic and understand the person as a whole person, it's like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. You can't end up taking a clone and saying, I'm going to take my clone to work. You just can't do that. You can't literally basically check out your humanity or check in your humanity at the door. And especially when it comes in relevance to change, you can't mandate or tell people that when you come through that door, these are the changes you must do. to me, I believe in the simple thing. It's a simple ask. If you ask people and you meet them where they are, again, you create that dynamic that's truly inviting. And I will go right back to what John C. Maxwell says when he says, it's not about how much you know that matters, I guess. It's about how much they know that you care. I forget the exact quote because I had it on top of my head, but it went through me. But I believe it's showing how vulnerable you can be, not only in a place of leadership, but also as a human being. So what's everyone's final thoughts and call to action?
My call to action is to find something positive in the change.
My call to action would be to get everybody involved in the change and then move forward with it. But what we have to stress is what the advantages will be when we make this change. And if they can understand that and see that and feel that, then they're far more likely to embrace the change. It's just a matter of getting them involved in it so they've got a stake in what the change is going to look like, and then seeing that there will be huge advantages if we actually move forward with this. So you've got to get that message across.
And Joanne, we would love to hear your call to action, but mine will be simply this: value the change, because understanding the change that comes before you or before an organization, you can take that very change and you can do whatever you want with it. If you're going to deem it in a negative way, then it's going to be negative for everybody else. But if you deem it to be a positive and a net positive, and it's going to be good for everyone involved, then take it. And if it was really truly a negative, flip it into that positive and see the better side of things. See how you can get to that, again, like building that bridge with people. If you build it with them, again, I will go back to Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And we truly believe that here, because if you build it with them, they will come to it because they have a stake in it and they feel invested in it. And then once they feel invested in it, I will go back to what John C. Maxwell says a lot. Let the best idea win. If you let the best idea win, then, and Joanne, you're absolutely right. Valuing everyone, and you call it stakeholders, but to me, it's valuing people, Joanne. If you value people, because see, Joanne, this is what I truly believe. And I would like to have a one-on-one with you, or everyone here would like to have a one-on-one with you too as well. To me, the next currency of humanity is not going to be rooted in money. It's going to be rooted in value. And once you value people for who they are, not only they become a stakeholder, they not only become an investment in themselves, they literally diametrically and by very definition invest in you, and then you in return do the very same to them. So it's interconnected, Joanne. I love that. I'd like to dive deeper into that with you soon. But again, Sandy, Carla, Graham, Christine. Wish Brian was here, but Brian, I guess, had the other things, because I talked to him this morning. He was throwing me some great nuggets around this morning. But we greatly appreciate each and every single one of you being on the call today, taking the time out of your day to enjoy this. Please don't hesitate to follow our YouTube channel, and also be a part of our LinkedIn group, and I'll put it in the chat shortly. And if you would like to connect with me or Carla or Sandy, please reach out to us. And this is our LinkedIn business page. Please let us know how we can be of service to you. And let's have that great and engaging conversation. And we'll see everybody next week for Sharing Care with Sandy. Everyone have a great Veterans Day, or as they say in Canada, Remembrance Day, and make it your day. And we'll see you guys next week.
Great. Have a great evening.